it's not going to work for that one. That's better. Day 14, guys. Day 14 of 10 minutes of yoga every single day through February. I'm going to begin seated this morning. And we're going to have an introduction to Warrior One today. So we did a little bit on sun salutations a couple of days ago, and we went through sun salutation A. Sun salutation B includes a pose called Warrior One. So I thought if we introduce it today, then we can get closer to maybe flowing through sun salutation B at a later date. So we will go through that at some point. And I'll also offer modifications today because Warrior One isn't always everyone's favourite pose. So as always, there'll be different options given and things like that. So we'll get stuck in. Coming to seated, but you can of course begin lying down or in any version that you would prefer. Sit on your knees, swing your legs around to one side if you want. There's no rules here. Just finding somewhere that you can come to a little bit of stillness first things first. Just find somewhere to place your hands, maybe in your lap or alongside your body, maybe on the knees. And just begin to notice. Notice what you can hear around you, how you feel this morning. Always trying to do that check-in. If they're not already, just closing down the eyes. And then starting to bring our awareness inwards. Just bring your attention onto your breath. Don't change anything at all, but just notice it, just observe. Maybe if it feels comfortable for you, you can begin to deepen the breath. Lengthen the inhales. Feeling that expansion, and then exhaling everything out. Maybe trying inhaling through the nose, exhaling through the nose or the mouth. Just seeing how things feel. And as I keep saying, it's the breath that will see us through the movement. It will bring your focus back when it maybe starts to wane. It will work you into some of the stretches. It'll calm you when you might need it the most. And so keeping a hold of that deeper breath now. If the eyes are closed, just begin to blink them open. And we're just going to take some gentle movement with the breath. So on an inhale, let's take the arms up overhead. And as you exhale, bringing them all the way back down. Inhaling, sending the arms up. And then as you exhale, bringing them back down. Let's do one more. As you inhale, rise up. Maybe this time your eyes come up towards the hands, and then as you exhale, maybe sending the chin down to the chest. We're going to take some seated twists now, so keeping a hold of the breath. Sit up nice and tall. Think about your vertebrae stacking on top of vertebrae as you sit nice and tall here this morning. Take the right hand out. It can come over to the side or maybe out behind you. And then that left hand is going to come onto the right knee. Thinking nice and tall with your inhales, and then use your exhales to allow your body to twist around to the right. And we're not pulling ourselves around with that right hand. We're just kind of meeting ourselves where our body naturally comes to, so that if you took both hands off, you wouldn't move. Inhale back through center. Let's take it to the other side. So the right hand comes onto the left knee this time. Left hand either out to the side or behind you. Sit nice and tall as you inhale, keeping the chin parallel to the ground. And then as you exhale, twisting around to the left this time. Again, not really pulling ourselves into the pose, just naturally finding where we twist. Meeting yourself where you are. Really nice. Inhale back into the center. Let's find all fours, tabletop position. So bringing the hands underneath the shoulders, knees underneath the hip points. And we're going to take some thread the needle this morning. I think it's a really nice chest and shoulder opener stretch. So this time we're going to take the left hand off the mat first. So just kind of take your awareness, take your weight over onto the right hand. As you inhale, lift that left hand up off the mat, and you can find anywhere. That can be, here, and then you've got support if you need to come back down, or it can be all the way up to the ceiling. Just finding where feels naturally right for you this morning. Just getting used to the fact that it's always going to look different for all of us. And then as we exhale, we're going to send this arm through the gap underneath the right arm. Bend through the right elbow, and as you do, bring that left ear down onto the mat. Press into the hand, that right hand, creating that right angle with the bend in the elbow. Feeling that side stretch all down the left side of the body. And then on an inhale, coming all the way back out, back into all fours. Taking a little wiggle if it feels good for you, just to shake that out, and then we'll take it onto the other side. So just sending your awareness, your weight over towards the left side this time, and bringing your right hand off the mat, up in space to wherever feels good for you. Then we're going to tuck it underneath the left arm, bending the elbow as you bring that right ear down onto the mat. Press through the left hand, finding that nice bend in the elbow. Feeling that side stretch all down the right side this time. Really nice, everyone. Coming back up on an inhale. And we're going to make our way to the top of the mat. So if you'd like to take a downward facing dog and then either take baby steps or a jump to the top of the mat, absolutely go for it. I'm going to come onto my knees, bring the hands onto the hips, and just as we did yesterday, whenever we find that low lunge in these classes, we're just going to bring the right foot forwards, tuck the back toes, press into that foot, and come to stand. Finding mountain at the top of the mat. Bringing the palms facing forwards, finding that Tadasana mountain pose, nice and strong, pressing into the ground. And then we're going to find high lunge. So we're going to keep the right foot forwards. I'm going to step the left foot back in space. At the moment, both toes are probably pointing forward, but actually we want to send the back toes out slightly. So if we can, if we can, that's terrible wording. If your body allows, the toes of that left foot can point out towards the left. The toes of the right point forwards. We're going to sink into the knee on the right. And then this is the really awkward thing about Warrior One. We kind of want to square the hips as much as we can to the front of the mat. So you'll notice that that might feel quite strange in that back left leg if it's not a pose you've ever come to before. And because of that, some people tend to avoid Warrior One. Lots of options here. So you can bring the toes of the left foot around a little bit more, so they're pointing more towards the front of your mat. That might ease some of the twist in that back leg. Or whenever a yoga teacher cues Warrior One, you can just find high lunge instead. So send the toes all the way around so that both toes are parallel and they're pointing towards the front of the mat, and take this stance instead. Just as we do with any of these kinds of poses, you can take that front leg a little bit wider if you feel like you need more balance. And if you'd like a bit more stretch, you can take that leg further forwards. Just play with it. There's always so many different options. I think we're so used to feeling like we have to look like the teacher looks, but it's all about how it feels for you, where you feel like you're getting the most benefit. As you inhale, send the arms up overhead, finding your version of Warrior One. As you're ready, when you've had enough, on an exhale, we're going to bring the arms forwards and we're going to frame that front foot with our hands. Pivot on the back toes if you haven't already. And you can either find plank if you'd like to here, or just lower that back left knee, send the right knee back to meet it, and you'll find yourself in all fours. We're just going to gently lower ourselves down to the mat here, bending through the elbows, coming to lie on our front. And we're just going to find a low cobra this morning. So bringing the hands in towards the chest space, in towards the ribs. And for low cobra, all we're going to do on an inhale is very slightly lift the chest off the ground. A good test here, again, just like in the twist, is if you take your hands off the mat, you stay exactly where you are. That's where you're naturally in your low cobra. Lowering everything back down to the mat. Two options here. You can find downward facing dog, or just like I'm going to do, press everything back, send the hips towards the heels, and let's find a child's pose for just a couple of breaths. Rising back up into that all four position, and we're going to come to the top of the mat again. So if you prefer a little bit more, you can take that downward facing dog and find your way to the top of the mat. Or if you're going to do like me, maybe take the left foot forwards this time, tuck the back toes, pressing through, coming to stand at the top of the mat, back in mountain pose. We'll take Warrior One on the other side this time. I'm just going to switch myself over so you guys can see a little bit better when I demonstrate. This time we're going to keep the left leg forwards, step the right leg back, pivot those toes, and again, play with it. So we went through all of those cues the first time around. So pressing into that front knee, we want to see a bend in the front leg. It's up to you how much of a bend here. So just feel into it, see what works best. And then as we square off the hips, you can kind of feel into where you want that back right leg to naturally sit. Maybe you want, so my toes are kind of pointing out towards the right. I would say they're probably at 3 o'clock. Not that it matters, but they can be completely parallel. You can find that high lunge position. They can be, perfectly out towards the right. There's no right answer, whatever you would prefer. As you inhale, send the arms up. Feel the embodiment of this warrior pose, nice and strong here. Press into both feet wherever you are, whichever modification you found. And then as you exhale, frame that front foot just as we did a moment ago. Send both feet pointing towards the top of the mat. So pivot on that back foot if you haven't already. Allow that right knee to come down to the mat. Send the left foot leg back as well. So we're coming back into that all fours position. And then this time we're just going to swing the legs around. We're going to come to lie on our back. I'm just going to switch so that I'm facing the same way again. And we're going to come to lie on our backs for our final resting pose this morning, Shavasana. So taking the legs out long, arms come alongside the body, palms face up. But as with anything, there's plenty of options. If you'd prefer to take a seat to end your practice today, or you can bring the soles of the feet together, let the knees drop out wide. And you can bring one hand onto the belly, one hand onto the heart. Maybe close down the eyes. And just allow your breath to return back to its natural rhythm. If you're in Shavasana, just allow the body to feel really heavy, almost like you're melting down into the yoga mat or into the ground. Allowing yourself this time to just be in this moment. Acknowledging that you've moved this morning or this afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world, but you took that time to prioritize you and just take a few minutes out of your day. And maybe you have a little more time today and you can spare maybe 5-10 minutes to just enjoy whichever final resting pose you found. I will leave you there, but absolutely enjoy it for longer if you have the time. Thank you so much for practicing with me, guys. I will be back